when I do. Happy Easter, everyone! Woo! It has been a year and a month since we had a church service here on campus with people. I want to welcome you back to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. And a big shout out to everybody who's watching on Facebook right now. So this is our first hybrid techno-dynamic service, both in person and virtual, which is the way they will be going forward when we gather again. I just want to say, when I came in yesterday to get ready, I opened a binder, because I always have a binder that I use for a service, and in it was the order service from March 8th, 2020. And that was the final service that was here. So this April 4th, 2021, welcome home. Lorenzo has some music, and then Karen and Troy will give the official welcome. I'm the pre-welcome.
Hola, buenos días.
Good morning.
Mi nombre es Karen.
Soy Troy.
I'm Karen Polnitz.
I'm Troy Polnitz, and we serve gratefully as members of the Worship Arts team.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, California. We welcome you to our first ever hybrid techno-dynamic service. Oh yeah. Which is a fancy way of saying some of us are here live outside in our parking lot, and some of us are safe at home attending virtually. Wherever you are, please know you are loved.
Today is our annual Easter service that marks the many springtime festivals celebrated within Unitarian Universalism. Our church mission statement proudly professes who we are striving to become as a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Our mission calls us to grow more fully and deeply into becoming the beloved community we dream of being. As you are comfortable, please join me in saying, La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es
amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud, y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Part of our mission to love inclusively means we extend a welcome to you, no matter your race, age, gender, cultural background, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. We welcome you no matter your spiritual beliefs or religious upbringing. We welcome you no matter your diverse abilities, amount of education, or level of income. We welcome you con papeles y sin papeles, with or without documentation. Nadie es ilegal en la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno. No one is illegal at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. We welcome you into our live and virtual sanctuary of memory, hope, and vision. Todos son bienvenidos aquí.
A word of warning about today's service. It is live, something we haven't done in over a year. We might be a bit rusty. We have simplified things in order to shorten the service. We are filming on an iPad, not a professional camera. We ask for your understanding and forgiveness as we demonstrate the art of imperfection. But as we've been saying for over a year, it isn't about perfection. It is about connection and community.
In that spirit, please take a moment to wave and, without leaving your seats, say hello to those around you in the parking lot or at home. If you are home and solo this morning, I personally want to welcome you. I'm so happy you're here.
So, this morning, we begin by remembering a profound truth that we experienced again and again as we gathered as a church community virtually, thanks to the wonders of Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. And that is the truth that you are not alone. You are not alone. And that is one of the messages of the great pagan stories of the goddess who goes to the underworld and then rises up at springtime and bringing the earth back to life, green and flowery. The message to the earth from the goddess is, you are not alone. Moses and Miriam brought that same message when they went to Egypt, and they said to the enslaved Israelites, put on your sandals and walk to freedom. You are not alone. There is a great love that will guide you. And that is the message also of Easter. One of the first words spoken by Jesus to his friends when that mythic Easter morning occurred was, the translation is, hi, don't be afraid. And I like to imagine he also said, you are not alone. As the sound of the tingsha fades, our worship begins.
I hear it on the wind in the trees. I hear it in the rain and the river sounds. I hear it when I'm down on my knees, like a song rising up from the sacred ground. Something like a whisper saying, You don't have to be afraid. You are not alone in the heartache. You are not alone in the battle you face. In between the light and the shadows, there are other eyes watching over this place. You won't have to fight this fight all on your own, 'cause you are not alone. You are not alone. I feel it in the grass at my feet. I feel it in the stroke of a gentle breeze. I feel it through the cold and the heat, like a friend reaching out from the mysteries. Something like a whisper saying, you don't have to be afraid. You are not alone in the heartache. You are not alone in the battle you face. In between the light and the shadows, there are other eyes watching over this place. And you won't have to fight this fight all on your own, 'cause you are not alone. You are not alone. So before you let yourself give in and sorrows blind you, try to listen as the rain and the river and the wind remind you. You are not alone in the heartache. You are not alone in the battle you face. In between the light and the shadows, there are other eyes watching over this place. You won't have to fight this fight all on your own, 'cause you are not alone. You are not alone in the heartache. You are not alone in the battle you face. In between the light and the shadows, there are other eyes watching over this place.
So Eva, Timothy, and Madison are going to come up and help us light our chalice this morning. Our chalice lighting words for this morning are entitled, "For Holy Days on Which We Recall the Old Stories," and they are adapted from Dillman Baker Sorrells. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For the earth-based celebrations of spring's renewal, which reminds us of the power of hope hidden in nature's cycles, we light the flame. For gathering today in sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together in community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, to be alive in the present, we light the flame.
Well, you want to stand as you're willing and able and join in the song of praise. I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I'm here. So glad I'm here. So glad I'm here today. I'm so glad I'm here. You know I'm so glad I'm here. So glad I'm here today. I'm going to sing while I'm here. I'm going to sing while I'm here. I'm gonna sing while I'm here. I'm gonna sing while I'm here today. I'm gonna sing while I'm here. I'm gonna sing while I'm here. Sing while I'm here today. You know love brought me here. You know love brought me here. Love brought me here. Love brought me here today. You know love brought me here. That's right, love brought me here. Love brought me here today. And joy brought me here. You know joy brought me here. Joy brought me here. Joy brought me here today. You know, joy brought me here. Yeah, joy brought me here. Joy brought me here today. I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad I'm here. So glad I'm here. So glad I'm here today. I'm so glad I'm here. You know I'm so glad I'm here. So glad I'm here today.
Please be
So glad you're all
seated.
here today.
Please be seated. I ask you now to hold in your heart a space that will allow you to both reflect and claim. What joys, what sorrows, what concerns, what gratitudes are alive for you this Easter morning. Take a moment to silently name and claim them. I give voice to the sorrow brought by the trial of the police officer who killed George Floyd last year. We acknowledge the trauma the retelling of Mr. Floyd's death has brought to so many Black Americans. We feel sorrow for the rising violence against Asian Americans and Pacific Island Americans. We feel sorrow that the same week that held the International Trans Visibility Day brought laws attacking the humanity of our trans youth. We feel grateful to be together today. We feel great gratitude for Jeremiah Henry and a year's gift of his time and his talent editing a year's worth of services. We feel gratitude for our staff, our lay leaders who are guiding us through this uncharted time. Today, we also lift up Linda S., who has returned home after months of hospitalization. We also remember Pat M., who struggles with a health issue. We also acknowledge that this is Autism Awareness Week and that different people process language, experiences, and feelings in different ways. For all that has been said, for all that we hold in the precious sacredness of our beating human hearts, and for all those who on this Easter morning have no one to say their name, no one to speak their name tenderly and with love, we light this candle By our remembering, may we and they be blessed. As is our custom, we light a second candle for the 2.84 million citizens of the world who have lost their lives in this terrible pandemic. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, O my soul.
Do this as a call and response. I'll do a line. Change my mind. I'm going to do the first verse and then I'll give you the lyrics to the second verse. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Consuélame, 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 oh mi alma. Consuélame, 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 oh mi alma. Speak to me. Speak to me, speak to me, speak to me, oh my soul. Speak to me, speak to me, speak to me, oh my soul. Háblame, háblame, háblame. Háblame, oh mi alma. Háblame, 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 oh mi alma. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Before the sound of the meditation bowl takes us into shared silence, I invite you to, before our candle of community and our COVID candle, to imagine them continuing to burn, but we affirm the worth and dignity and welcome all here, including mosquitoes, and so we are going to just symbolically extinguish them while they burn in your hearts and minds. Well, maybe not. Fuente de amor. Well, I think we're going to just let that one go.
Let us join in breath and spirit for a moment of reflection with a prayer of hope, promise, and commitment. Querido Espíritu, Espíritu suave, gentle spirit, sweet spirits that fill this space, damos gracias por el ciclo. Thank you for the cycle, the great turning that brings us back, que nos ha traído otra vez a la esperanza, to hope. Here we find ourselves once more in the season of promise, la promesa de que las flores siempre volverán. The flowers will always return. For in the depths of our sadness, confusion pressing and weighing in, when the pain is great and we begin to feel the breaking, a voice beckons, behold, mira, there are purple petals in the grass. Dreams are drifting, white blossoms like spring snow, de los árboles a las calles. It is the Spirit, our spirits, mine and yours, all spirits blending and swirling with the breeze, calling one another to lift, fix our gaze upon swaying branches, yellow bursts among the vines, sentir el sol, recordar del ciclo. Damos gracias por su presencia. For the presence of the cycle, we give thanks. Lo sentimos al respirar, al exhalar. With each inhale, with each exhale, we feel the great turning, reminding us of the promise, de la promesa que sí existe en cada corazón. May it carry us forward, seeking joy, spreading love, knowing, confirmando con nuestros actos, the flowers will always return. Las flores siempre volverán. Nosotros somos. We are the flowers. Y siempre volveremos a la esperanza. Que así sea, bendito sea. Amen. May it be so, blessed be. Amen.
Growing up, one of my favorite Easter hymns was O Day of Joy and Gladness. I'm aware that this year we could not sing that hymn, O Day of Joy and Gladness, without also adding, O Day of Sorrows and Tears. It takes my breath away when I think about it. It overwhelms me when I think about it. And I truly wish that we didn't have to think about it. In the entire history of our country, we've only twice before experienced such a death-infused spring as the one now unfolding around us. Our spring, this early April, holds the memory of over 553,000 Americans who have died in the COVID-19 pandemic. 553,000 empty places at the table. The only other springs that held more American deaths than this spring came first in 1865, when, in early April, 156 years ago, the Civil War ended with 620,000 dead. Followed then, secondly, by the spring of 1920, when, in early April, 101 years ago, the flu pandemic ended with a staggering 675,000 dead. Spring, 1865, 620,000. Spring, 1920, 675,000. Our spring, 2021, 553,000 gone. A number growing by almost 900 new deaths each week. If you want to honor these deaths, please type the letter D in the comment box or put a hand over your heart for a moment of silence. But it is also a day of joy and gladness. This is one of the most hope-infused springs in our country's history. Look at us. We're here together, joined in person and virtually for the first time in over a year. And not only that, and this is so important, we've survived to see this moment. Not everyone is this lucky. For those of us who are in the parking lot, we can actually see each other. We can look into each other's eyes and see our beautiful humanity. This is a hope-infused spring. The vaccines are bringing a new dawn to our days. It feels like we are poised on the brink of a tomorrow we can't yet see, but we do know is there, waiting for us to discover it if we can just hold on for a little bit longer. This feels exciting. This feels liberating. This feels fine. Would you say that with me? This feels fine. One more time. This feels fine. Artist and poet Rod McIver writes, "We've had a stormy winter. We're looking forward to the new season. Winter, then spring. It will happen. It will be more beautiful than you remember. It will be more beautiful than we remember. So much about life and death is bigger than we are. If we've learned nothing else in this past year, we've learned that there is so much that is beyond our control. And most of us don't like that feeling of not being in control. Who doesn't like that feeling of not being in control? Okay, we're in the right sanctuary. Not being in control makes us feel vulnerable, unsure, perhaps even inconsequential. But so much of life is beyond our control. We want spring to come when we want it. We want Easter or Passover to look like it did 2 years ago, not this year. We want everyone to wear masks, social distance, and follow science. We want everybody to cherish truth and democracy as much as we do. We want everyone to act as if Black lives matter as much as white lives, as if the lives of Latinx, Asian American, Pacific Islander, Indigenous, and other persons of color matter. We want voting rights secured and our trans kids protected. We want jobs to be safeguarded, income to be sustainable, and we want our loved ones aging to be less of a struggle than it often is. We want life to go according to our plans. We want death to go according to our plans. This last year has showed us that life and death will come, but each in its own way. My mom's experience of dying 13 years ago was what our family lovingly referred to as her slow fade away. And it was very slow. After 8 months, she'd lived longer than any doctor expected. She was frail and subsisting on a few spoonfuls of soup. The hospice nurse shook her head in disbelief and said that in 15 years she had never seen anything like it, such endurance. And so we waited, we watched, we loved, we laughed, we sang, we cried, we prayed, and we treasured every moment just as it was given to us. We treasured each breath as the unearned gift it truly was and is. Poet Mark Nepo writes, "There is a timing larger than any of us, a readiness that comes and goes like the heat that makes our secret walls melt." In the ancient days, our pagan ancestors looked out and tried to make sense of what it meant to live in a world they couldn't control, where everything seemed vulnerable and temporary, where even sunlight and green growing things came and went to a larger and sometimes indeterminate rhythm. Our pagan ancestors created stories about beautiful goddesses who were stolen away to the underworld. In grief, the sunlight waned and winter descended. In that absence, those ancients waited and prayed for the goddess's return to the surface of the earth. They waited and prayed for warmth's return. And when it did return, they created a spring festival, a holy day, to remind each other to treasure this moment of emerging new life. In the ancient days, our Jewish ancestors looked out and tried to make sense of what it meant to live in a world they couldn't control, where some were oppressed, others enslaved, and still others slaughtered. Our Jewish ancestors created stories about mythic, brave Israelites liberating themselves from slavery and servitude, while an angel of death safely passed over them. When their hard-won self-determination was threatened, those ancients summoned their courage and waited and prayed for freedom to emerge and bring new life. And they created a spring festival, a holy day, to remind each other to not stop waiting, not stop hoping, not stop celebrating the gift of life. And in ancient days, our Christian ancestors looked out and tried to make sense of what it meant to live in a world they couldn't control, where the promise of peace on earth and peace of mind seemed so out of reach. Our Christian ancestors told stories about a charismatic young spiritual teacher, Yeshua, Jesus, who brought a prophetic, inclusive, and revolutionary love into the world. And when he went away, they waited and prayed for his return. They waited and prayed for love's return. And they created a spring festival, a holy day, to remind each other to not stop waiting, not stop hoping, not stop celebrating the gift of life. Today, it's now our time. And we look out and try to make sense of what it means to live in a world we can't control, a world where we still haven't learned to care for each other and our endangered planet, a world where all lives do not matter equally, where resources and opportunities are not shared equally, and where our connection to our loved ones can sometimes seem so threatened and temporary. In these days, we still need stories about the return of warmth, the return of freedom, the return of love. And whether or not we personally include Jesus as part of our celebration, we still need spring festivals, holy days, to remind each other to not stop waiting, not stop praying, not stop hoping, not stop reaching, not stop asking, and not stop laughing and singing and crying. We need this Easter morning to remind each other to not stop loving, to not stop celebrating the gift of this life. If you want to celebrate life, if you're at home, type the letter L in the comment box, and if you're in the parking lot, let's hear some cheers and applause for life. Woo! Acclaimed African-American writer Alice Walker faced many challenges in her living and her loving. She was blinded and disfigured in one eye in a childhood accident. In 1967, she married a white man at a time when marriage between people of different races was still against the law in some states. She watched her marriage and her writing be dissected by racist critics. But still, Alice Walker lived as a proud woman and as a proud black person in a nation where it is still difficult to be one or the other, and even harder to be both. When asked how she held on to her hope, Alice Walker answered, "I'd like to say that as long as the earth can make a springtime, I can do that also, because the earth and I are one. I can't give up, because nature has not even in places that have been battered beyond recognition of what was there before. I can't give up, because nature has not. That sustains me." Marjorie Redman tells this true story about nature and hope. I've adapted it from a version retold by Scotty McLennan. My friend Maria called the other day to share a spring miracle with me. 10-year-old Paco had come into her care from a program called Mentor, which places emotionally traumatized youngsters in temporary homes. Paco had been abandoned by his mother when he was 3, raised by a few family members in succession who each in turn gave up because of his fierce temper tantrums. Finally, Paco was placed with his abusive alcoholic father. Authorities suspected that both his mother and father had badly mistreated him, both physically and emotionally. When Paco came to Maria and her husband, he was almost completely nonverbal. He was suspicious and not very cooperative. Maria and Juan raised rabbits and put Paco in charge of one of the pens. As the days went by, he became focused on his work with the rabbits, making sure they had plenty of pellets and enough water. Maria watched him carefully and worked beside him to make sure he treated the animals gently. Paco made a special pet of one of the female rabbits and began talking to her. One morning, Paco came out to the pen with Maria and saw that his favorite rabbit had given birth. She was huddled in one corner, and there on the cage floor lay her 3 tiny babies, lifeless. Paco gagged in rage and beat his fists against the side of the cage, spitting out ugly names at his pet, screaming at her, "You left them! You left them alone!" Maria restrained Paco and then reached into the cage, scooping up the 3 limp bodies. She ran into the house with Paco in tow and wrapped the tiny bunnies in an electric blanket. They rested in that electric blanket. And an hour later, Paco stood wide-eyed, watching his little pet's newborn offspring squirm and wriggle in the warmth of the blanket. Paco made peace with his pet and lectured her more civilly on how to be a good mother. He talks more and more to people every day. When questioned about this miracle, Maria simply replied, "Oh, rabbits are like that. So are 10-year-old youngsters. So are good people who take them in. So is life like that." My dear ones, we do not know when life will come. We do not know when death will come. We don't know what tomorrow holds. But we do know that we are here today together in this hope-infused spring. We do know that there is a love holding us. There's a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. Winter, then spring. Despair, then joy. Uncertainty, then possibility. Death, then life. It will happen. It will be more beautiful than we remember. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Happy Easter.
Love is patient, love is patient and kind. Not withholding always giving its time. Faith, hope, and love, these three remain, but the greatest of these is love. Faith, hope, and love, these three remain, but the greatest of these is love. Ooh, love it endures, love it endures, yes. Through the heartache, it keeps no record of wrongs. Faith, hope, and love, these three remain, but the greatest of these is love. Faith, hope, and love, these three remain, but the greatest of these is Spirit of life, flow through me, renew me, Spirit of life, transform me to be more kind. Oh, 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 only love, only love, only love when all is said and done. Love is patient, love is patient and kind, not withholding, always giving its time.
So I have a very important question. Are you ready for the first live reveal in over a year of Reverend Tim's Sunday Socks? All right, so this week it was a battle of the bunnies between the Norman Rockwell old-fashioned bunny, boy, the hipster bunnies, and the inquisitive bunnies on Easter morning. And the winner was Norman Rockwell, old-fashioned bunny and boy. All right, a few reminders for you folks. Next Sunday, we are moving to Zoom. We have missed seeing you. You have missed seeing us. So we're going to see each other while we worship together on Zoom. And I, for one, am so excited to see your smiles. So another reminder is that after the service, all of our kiddos should go meet me over in that courtyard where the fire pit is between the OCR and the sanctuary so that we can do our canned good Easter egg hunt-esque thing. And speaking of what to do after the service, we want to make sure that we're being super careful with our social distancing while we dismiss. So at the end of the service, I'm going to scamper down, because that's a bunny word, and I'm going to wave at the rows when it's your turn to kind of get up and disperse. Now, what we've done is we've put tents around the parking lot so that we can do social hour in the best way that we can, socially distanced. So if you want to stick around and you want to have social hour, make your way to one of the tents, probably the one that's closest to you. And just what I tell the kiddos is use your helicopter arms and make sure you're 6 feet apart. If you are heading out to the parking lot, just be safe as you leave. Our parking attendants won't be directing traffic as we go. And now, Reverend Tim's got an important pledge update for us.
So as Karen and Troy make their way to the stage, and we have our chalice extinguishing, I just want to take a moment to thank you for being here. Thank you for not giving up on the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. And thank you for allowing us to keep our doors open, because we never closed. We just gathered in a different way.
It is good to be together.
What a great joy this day has been.
As our time together draws to a close, may we carry with us the magic of our shared spirits on this special day.
Whether in person or via the miraculous technology that has kept us together throughout the past year, the flame that lives on in our hearts reminds us that we are always connected.
Through our shared spirit, we bring back the flowers each spring, with our yearning for joy, our choice to find hope, and our commitment to acts of love and justice.
As we prepare to end our annual Easter service and enter into the afternoon, please join us in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad, o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón.
So I've been waiting a year and a month to say this to you. I invite us to rise in body or spirit, and if you came with someone else, please join hands. If you are on your own, remember you are not alone, and I reach out my hand to all of those so that we are joined together. Go now in peace. May you leave this place knowing you are good and knowing you are loved. Take your love. Share it with the world. Stay safe until we meet again. And may the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and that pure light that is within you guide your way on. Blessed be. Amen.
From here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. In love, go in peace. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum.
So we are going to dismiss from the back row forward, and Danny will be your dismisser.